Hi, welcome back. This is Donna with ABC Cake Decorating Supplies. We are already on our last stop of this journey. Look at how much we've learned from baking a cake. Now we're putting pizzazz on a cake. Next part is, this is going to be the difference between just making a gum paste flower and really bringing it to life. This is just going to put it over the top. So if you like to paint, you like to be creative, this is the stop for you. One of the things that you want to do whenever you start to finish your flowers is the embellishments. From the plain calla lily that we have, and he's still hanging up drying. So we have this plain calla lily. This is the calyx. We're going to add the calyx to this calla lily, and also we're going to come in and paint it just a little bit. In order to achieve that, what I've done is I have taken just a medium cutter, round cutter, rolled out my gum paste to 1/16 or less. You want to be able to read through it. However, this one doesn't have to be quite so particular, but you do want it to be thin because you don't want a big green piece of gum paste on the bottom of your flower. Rolled it out, and I cut it. Now what I want to do to achieve this green part of the flower is I want to cut that in half. So what I'm going to do is just take my little spatula and just chop it right in half. Now if you're making two of them, you have another half. Simply just take it, put it underneath your board. Now this is how easy this one is. What we're going to do is take our petal glue, gum glue, glue, whatever you want to call it, the sticky stuff that gets everywhere. Now the flat part here is going to follow the flat part of this flower. We're going to take it, and actually let's start on the very inside. Because our flower has this curve to it, we want to tuck it in there as much as we can so it looks like it's unwrapping from that. Then we're going to take this and just follow it around until it meets. Then I'm going to take my little stick and just kind of direct it where I want it to go. And then this one's going to be on the outside. And that's the calyx to my calla lily. It already just changed the whole look of the calla lily. And then we're going to go back and we're going to talk about the lusters and the petal dust. Now I'm just going to put him in here. Then the next flower I have is going to be my rose calyx. That basically is going to be that. Now what I do with this is I do change it just a little bit. This here is a calyx cutter, and this one's made, they're calling that rose a large rose, but I think it's more of a medium rose. So to me, this is a medium calyx cutter, but they do consider it a large in some. So it's just kind of look around based upon the size of the flower you're going to make as to how big of a calyx you want. So I cut out my calyx, again, very thin, 1/16 or thinner. Also makes great little starfish too if you want to add starfish to your cake. One of the things I do to this, most people take it and just stick it on their rose. I like to go back and and you don't have to be perfect on this. I like to just snip it. And if it's off center or you snip off a piece, that is okay. We're just going around and we're snipping it. And this is how easy it is. Then you take your rose, your unfinished rose. I'm going to take it, put it right in the center there. We're going to pull it up. Then we're just going to take a little bit of glue We're just gonna kind of glue. We don't wanna glue these ends down. We want them to kind of fall apart, fall out. So I just put a little bit there. Then I'm gonna put this here. And then you have your calyx for your rose. If you want, you can hang it back upside down and let it continue to dry if you're afraid that it's going to fall. If you want, you can take it and you can come in here and you can pull this away just a little bit to give your rose a little bit more of a dimension. Simple. The carnation base is going to look something like this. How to achieve that, we are going to take our calyx, but unlike the rose where we just cut it, because the carnation is longer, we're going to take, let's put it on here. We are going to take our little rolling pin, my favorite little rolling pin, and we're just going to elongate these little legs on this thing. Make them longer. Okay. Then what we're going to do is then we're going to cut it like we did our rose, but we just want this one to be a little bit longer. On roses, or on carnations, they're usually a little bit longer. So now we're going to take this guy and we're going to cut him. This is just so fun. You just let your creative imagination go. In fact, if you wanted to get real creative, and I did this, again, when I was talking about the white and black calla lilies I made, well, I did white and black carnations, but each carnation, there was a black section, then a white section, a black section, and a white section. And then when you puffed it up, it's really pretty. So just play. Okay, now we're going to put our carnation base on here, like this. And this is why it's so important. Make sure you let your stuff dry. Don't rush it, because if you do, you'll end up doing it over again. And then, if you need to, take a little bit of gum glue. Again, just kind of go up a little bit. Smash them in there just a little bit. And then that is going to be the base to your carnation. Because on a carnation, the base is actually a little bit longer. And I'm just going to take a little pinch of green. I'll roll it up. Then I'm going to kind of make it kind of like our flower base was, if you remember our flower base. But instead, with the rose, we went straight up and the little part was up. We're going to actually do the fat part up. So we're just going to take this, go right down the center here. And if it was a complete one, you would just hold it, just very gently, hold it around the sides, put your little base in there. And then you could come back if you wanted, and you can blend this in. This is the part where you got to decide how detailed and how much time you want to put into your carnation or any of your arrangements. The more time you spend, the nicer it's going to look. And then that is going to be your carnation. So when it goes into the cake, you're going to see that part of it, and then your carnation. So then you've got your carnation with its calyx, your rose with the calyx, and your calla lily with its calyx. Now to add a little bit of greenery, we've got a couple options here. What we've got right here is a rose leaf cutter. Again, they come in many different sizes. If you just cut it out just the way it is, that's your leaf. Really doesn't have much of a personality. So we're going to give it one. What we're going to do is take it, bring it out here. We're going to take And like I say, these are the two that you're going to use the most of, the ball tool and the veining tool. Use the little side of the veining tool, a little bit of our powder. It's our cornstarch and powdered sugar. Now a leaf does have a top and a bottom. This is the bottom part, that's the top part. You can kind of see it here. So that's the top and that's the bottom. We're going to go from just about at the point on the top, and we're just going to draw a straight line down it. I'm just going to take it, draw a straight line down it. So pretty much we've just kind of sliced it. Now what we're going to do is just go in here and just do a little bit of lines. We're just going to kind of give this leaf some personality here. We're just going to come back up here. And then that's our leaf. Now, if you wanted to dry with any type of curlicue, kind of like these, so that the leaves dry with a little bit of personality, just take anything. You can take a paper towel, you can take wax paper, parchment paper, set it down, and then because it's so pliable right now, it's just gonna conform to the paper, and then it's going to dry with just a little bit of a turn to it. Luster dust and petal dust. The way the petal dust is, and I'll paint a little bit on here for you, just so you can see. And then let me do a little bit of luster, just so you can see it side by side. You can see how the petal has absolutely no sheen to it, and then the luster dust does. That's the difference. Now you can apply them two different ways. You can apply them dry, just like I did here, and you get a nice soft look to it. If you're wanting to really get some fine lines, and sometimes you'll see roses or something that have like gold on the outside, how you achieve that is you take, and this is actually going to add a little bit of color to it, but you need a clear alcohol base. You want something that's going to dry fast because you don't want to start to melt your fondant or your gum paste. And what I do is the colors I'm going to want to paint with, I just kind of put them out on my, and then I just drag in my liquid. If you're wanting to get something that's real intense and detailed, take a little bit of your alcohol, and then you mix it with your color, and it's this kind of becomes just a powdered paint. And then when you come in here, you can see this one you should be able to see real well. And then here we're going to come up and let's and you can draw on the side of your fondant cake if you want. So if you're an artist, oh my gosh, you're going to go crazy with this stuff. And then that is how you would paint with it. So if you want a defined line, that's what you would do with this. To go into our leaf, all I want to do is just embellish it a little bit. So I'm going to just take a little bit of my green, and I think I'm going to paint it on pretty much dry. And I'm just going to brush this in and then just come up a little bit. And if it was fall, you may want to add a little bit of red or purple to this. You may want to add some gold. And then I'm going to come and just highlight the edges just a little bit. So you can see the difference between the one that has luster on it and the one that doesn't. Next, we're going to do our calla lily. The calla lily here, on the outside of it, I added a little bit of green just to kind of brush it up a little bit. And then inside I added a little bit of yellow to give it like it has a little bit of pollen in it. So see the difference right now? What I'm going to do is just take my green and try to keep your brushes pretty much separate so you don't pollute the colors. And then I'm just going to kind of brush up. And you don't need a lot, just takes a little bit. we're just going to brush up our flower. And just kind of blend it in. And this is where it's nice if you have just a plain brush, because then you can come in here and you can kind of blend it in a little bit nicer. If your glue's not completely dry, and I'm going to show you right here, it's basically like painting. So you want to make sure your calla lilies are complete, any flower is completely dry so that that doesn't happen. You want to get more of that type of a look. Then on the inside, we're going to go with our yellow here. And all I'm doing is just coming down to the very inside here. And I'm just going to kind of brush up my yellow. And I may even brush a little bit out just to give it a little bit of a personality. And it doesn't take a lot, just a little bit, but just enough to make it not look like it's just so cut and dry. It looks more like it has some personality to it. Then the same for my rose here. My rose, what I like to do with my rose is I am going to take my peachy color and I'm just going to come around the outside of my rose. And you just hit all the outsides of it. And this is kind of like lining. And you would just continue to do that around the whole flower, and it just gives it that little extra detail. If you wanted to, take a little bit of our dry brush and just kind of hit the flower with a little bit of color. And you can just continue to play as long as you want. So that's what's so cool about these. I hope you enjoyed this journey. This journey is so fun. The gum paste flowers, once you get the basics, it's only limited by your imagination. There are so many things out there. There's so many things, if you think about it, wow, I can do it too. If you have any comments, please email me at donna@doublervideo.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or anything you'd like to see in further journey shows. Please let me know. Thanks for watching.